Hi, and welcome to Danny After Dark. If you're new here, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss a notification or a new episode. Tonight, I will be discussing the case of Ethan Couch, otherwise known as the Affluenza Teen. And if you aren't familiar with this case, does the term affluenza defense mean anything? Well, if you don't know anything about it, stay tuned. There's a lot to discuss. And I can pretty much probably guarantee that by the end of this episode, you will be completely outraged. And I will just leave it at that. And for those of you who know the case, you know. But before we dive into that, just go over a few housekeeping things. If you are not already subscribed, please make sure to do so. Turn on the notifications so you don't miss any updates and alerts when I go live. Also, all my social media information is below. Instagram, Facebook, the TikTok page, the merch page, Cameo, Buy Me a Coffee, all of those links are down below. So make sure to check those out if you're not already following me on all those other platforms. Book club for July will be the last Thursday of the month. For this month, we are doing Lynette Fromey's book Reflection. So anybody who would like to be a part of that, by all means, please feel free to read the book and do so. You can be on camera and discuss it, or if you want to be in the chat, or just watch from a distance and hear what I have to say or what others have to say who have read it as well. Lastly, the True Crime Podcast Festival. I've been saying it for months, but it's this weekend. It is this weekend, which is wild, and it will be my first time having a booth, so I'm really excited. So if you are in the New England, Massachusetts area, there are still tickets available. Feel free to get one. Use code Danny20 for a discount. And yeah, come see me there. There'll be so many other amazing content creators there. I'm just so excited to see and hang out with everybody. And that will be this coming weekend, the weekend of July 18th. So yeah, I'm super excited for that. On Instagram, the Liz will be there one of the days, took a little sneak peek of some of the kind of freebie items that I'll have for that. And she posted a picture. So I shared that picture. And yeah, so little taste of some of the items that I will have at my booth that she did post in that. So very exciting. It's very, very exciting. Other than that, since the True Crime Podcast Festival is this coming weekend, and it is all day and evening, Friday, Saturday, and then it ends on Sunday, but I know I'll be super exhausted. True Crime and Chill will not be happening this week. I am jam-packed every night this week. So I'm super bummed about that, but stay tuned on Instagram. Message me on Instagram. Anything that's breaking, I will post on Instagram, which we're already into the work week. Today is Monday, and there's already been so much already. It's just, it never ends. So yeah. I mostly post on Instagram for that kind of like breaking news stuff. So follow me over there if you want to keep up to date with anything. Other than that, next week should be a surprise guest. I'm really excited for that. So stay tuned. So before I jump into the Ethan Couch case, which, trust me, it was one of those cases where I'm like, I really want to cover this because I think it's super important to discuss. But then when I was like researching and doing the notes, because I haven't kind of looked back at that case in years, just the anger. You just have so much anger with this case. And yeah, I'm sure that will, come across a little bit when I'm going over the case, but we will see. Capone, first one in the chat. Good to see you. My apologies for being a few minutes late. I'm not the diva like Beckham is, who will show up like 35 minutes late for a show and just be like, hey, everybody, I'm here. Everybody say hi, I'm here. So my apologies on being a few minutes late. That's not like me. That is not like me, but super, super busy day. But I hope you're doing good, Capone. Kane, hello, good to see you. Oh, quickly before I forget, Capone, I did a true crime tour this past weekend with Liz and another friend, and I was talking to the tour guide, and I was mentioning that I recently went to Vegas and did the mob museum, so we were talking a little bit about that, but yes. Yeah, definitely I mentioned that we went to that Capone, which was super, super fun. Let's see, Richard. Hi, Richard, hope you're doing well. James wants it. Hey, it's Danny after 10 minutes. I know. Oh my gosh. I know. I actually have a funny story about that. Hey, PJ, good to see you. So, all right. Y'all know how prompt I am, except for tonight. So I'm like that way. I've always been that way. Like my motto is, if you're on time, you're late. It's always been that way. So there was a job I had, oh my God, probably 20 years ago, I want to say. And I would always get there minimum 15 to 20 minutes early, always. And, set up back, get my lunch, like situated. Like I would like to just get there, have a moment, and then start. That I don't like to like walk in as the shift starts. Like, no. And it was like 15 minutes before the shift, and my coworker at the time called. She said, "Is everything okay? Where are you?" And there was like a super, super huge accident that backed up like traffic everywhere. I got to work on like literally on time, which for me is super late. But it's just so funny that I was just like, I don't start for 15 minutes. But they're like, but you're always here so early that we knew something wasn't right. Which I was like, okay, fair. I remember this. Liz, are you referring to Liz? I hear my name is being taken in vain. No. I remember. I walked in and ran the stiff shot. Yeah. See, Liz knows. Danny, I just got that book in the mail today. Lynette Fromey's book. That would awesome. Kane, awesome. I cannot wait to hear what you think about that book, honestly. Hey, car guy, long time no see. I hope you're doing well, hun. Chappie Kino, aka Tish, hello. Yes, the Mob Museum. I wore my it was one of the shirts. It was the brown shirt that I got from the Mob Museum, the one with the 4 gangsters on it. I wore that to the gym the other day. Love it. Let's see. Karen Diamond, hello. Thank you. You are so sweet, Karen. Oh, I hope you're doing well. Enjoying your summer. So, okay. All right, everybody. So for anybody that is watching but is not in the chat, thank you for joining. And feel free to be in the chat. Everybody is a lovely, lovely person in the chat, except for James Watson. But we just let him do his thing. He needs a home, and I will gladly provide one for him here. So anyway, Chris James. Hi, Danny Chad, Miss Jall. Hi, do you have a new? Okay, it does not show you as having a wrench. Did you create a new account, Chris James? Because yeah, your avatar is definitely different as well. Let me know so I could hook you up with a wrench. Lovely, lovely person. Debatable, but you know what? The night is young. I gave you a star recently in the last couple of weeks. I mean, yeah, hell must have frozen over. I don't know. Yes, I did. Okay. All right. We need to rectify the situation and give Chris James a wrench because yeah, you can't not have one here. That's just not acceptable. And for anybody watching thinking, what's the dang deal with the wrenches? It is a great way if people are talking kind of about either what I'm talking about on camera, or sometimes y'all have your own conversations on the side, which is amazing in itself. It gives you the opportunity to post links to be able to either share articles or other YouTube links or whatnot. So definitely feel free to do that. And you can't do that without a link, without a wrench, which is just really unfortunate. So it is what it is. I'm going to time him out. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. Ant-Man says hi, being a YouTuber is his inspiration. Oh, Ant-Man. Oh, love you, Ant-Man. You know, we can all aspire to be a YouTuber like Mr. Beckham. But then we sometimes realize those dreams are not worth following because you show up 30, 35 minutes late every show. So it is what it is. It is what it is. All right. All right. Hi, Sam Smith. Good to see you. Oh, no, you're definitely not lovely either. But you have, every once in a while you throw something in there that's like really just kind of like a mind teaser. And it's like, wait a minute. But I think y'all can tell I'm delaying a little bit because, yeah, this case. But I think we just need to dive on in. It's been a little over 10 minutes. Let's dive on in. What do you say? Love that. All right. Let's get into it. Ethan Couch, the Affluenza Teen, and also most known for having the Affluenza defense. So Ethan Anthony Couch was born on April 11th, 1997. His parents are Fred and Tanya Couch. Ethan grew up, to put it very mildly, in a house of privilege. The family was financially very well off. So from an early age, Ethan had always attended private school. There seems to be some instances growing up where Ethan would be caught doing something illegal, and his parents, rather than punish him, would just bail him out without hesitation. Not only that, but his parents would go the extra step and would actually place the blame on those who tried to hold Ethan accountable for his illegal actions. On June 15th, 2013, 16-year-old Ethan Couch had stolen 2 cases of beer from the local Walmart store. About an hour and a half after stealing the beer, Ethan and his friends had been drinking when they decided to start driving. Ethan, who was extremely intoxicated at the time, and I cannot overstate that enough, extremely intoxicated, drove with his 7 friends and his dad's 2012 Ford F-350 pickup truck. Nobody in that vehicle was wearing their seatbelts. While driving, Ethan was driving well over the speed limit of about 70 miles per hour in a 40 mile per hour zone. Ethan drove onto the 2-lane Burleson-Retta Road. It was there where motorist Brianna Mitchell's sports car had stalled. Holly Boyles and her daughter Shelby, they lived close by and they offered to come outside and help Brianna. Brian Jennings, a youth minister who was driving by with his 2 children, saw them on the side of the road and also stopped to offer some assistance to Brianna. Without warning, Ethan came driving down the road, again at 70 miles per hour, and swerved off the road. While doing so, it crashed his vehicle into Brianna's stalled car and Brian's parked car. The Ford truck then hit an oncoming Volkswagen car. Ethan's truck flipped over and struck a tree. 7 calls came into 911 immediately requesting help and capturing the horrific scene that had just unfolded. One woman told the operator that she had just driven up to the scene of an accident, and then she interrupts herself. Quote, "Oh, there's another child in the ditch?" End quote. The operator tells her to stop screaming and tries to get more information, asking how many cars are involved. Quote, "Ma'am, I can't tell." End quote. Quote, "It's dark. The kids laying in the ditches, the kids laying in the street." End quote. And in the background, the operator can hear a lot of moaning. One man on the phone with the operator is overheard telling his son to sit down and pray and to not look at the accident. Quote, "Who is that?" End quote, the boy asks. Then the operator hears, quote, oh my God, end quote. The operator asks the father how many people are injured, and the father starts to count, quote, 1, 2, 3, multiple. I don't even know how many, end quote. One of the other callers, I just said that so Boston. One of the other callers was one of the teenage boys who was actually in the truck with Ethan. He's drunk when he calls 911. So he's slurring his words to the operator. He says, quote, "We need some ambulances. It's bad. We flipped and," end quote. He pauses. And then he goes on to say, quote, "Oh God, dude, I have no idea," end quote, in regards to when the operator is saying, how many people are hurt? How many people are injured? Again, there's no idea how many people are injured because there's just bodies laying everywhere. So first responders now arrive at the scene, and it is absolute chaos. A Tarrant County Sheriff's deputy said the scene looked, quote, more like a plane crash than a car wreck, end quote. There was burning rubber and gasoline vapor filling the air. Pieces of mangled metal and human remains were scattered over nearly 300 feet of road. So let's do a quick pause. I see a bunch of people have come in the chat. So this is a great spot to kind of just take a breath and to pause, because I know I just went over a lot of details about the scene that is now unfolding. So let's see. A little bit. Hi, Renee. Good to see you. Hope you're doing good. Well, hello, Paulcast. Lovely to see you as always. He was 3 times over the legal limit. Yes, thank you. Did you really just look that up, James? Okay, Paul. No. Car guy. No. Affluenza, not influenza. I tried to have this conversation with Paul earlier. There's a big difference between affluenza and influenza. So, yeah. Car guy, don't let Paul bring you down. Don't let him bring you down. You know what's up, car guy. You know what's up. I know, Liz. I have no idea. No idea. He just shows up. But I gave him a wrench at one point, so he must be okay. I don't know. All right. Now that there's a lot of pleasantries going over for Paul. Yeah, car guy. I got you. All right, folks. Let's get back to the scene that has unfolded. So Brianna Mitchell, Brian Jennings, Holly Boyles, and Shelley Boyles were all struck by Ethan's truck, and they were all pronounced dead at the scene. Miraculously, Ethan and his 7 friends survived, although his friends were all injured. 2 of his friends specifically suffered serious injuries that one of them ended up suffering from complete paralysis. Ethan, however, just creating the scene, decided he wasn't going to stick around, and he took off down the road, stumbling, because again, he is super intoxicated. With that being said, due to the condition Ethan was in, he did not make it very far. So first responders were able to easily find him. Ethan, 3 hours after the crash, had a blood alcohol content level of 0.24%, which was 3 times the legal limit for adult drivers 21 and over in Texas. Ethan also tested positive for marijuana and Valium. So I know earlier, where is it, Capone, that you said he was 3 times over the legal limit. Yes. So keep in mind, though, that was 3 hours after the crash. So just kind of keep that in mind as we're thinking about how intoxicated he really was at the time of the crash. So Ethan was then charged with 4 counts of intoxication manslaughter and 2 counts of intoxication assault. Ethan pled guilty. However, Prosecutors obviously were seeking the maximum sentence of 20 years in prison. The defense, here's where we get to something a little bit different than we've heard before. The defense petitioned the judge that Ethan should get a reduced sentence. The reason being, a psychologist hired as an expert by the defense testified in court that Ethan was a product of, quote, affluenza, end quote. Therefore, he was unable to link his actions with consequences because of his parents teaching him that wealth buys privilege. So basically, he didn't know right from wrong. Well, Judge Boyd held the court hearing, which was closed to the public. And on December 10th, 2013, Judge Boyd gave Ethan a sentence of 10 years probation. Yes, you heard that right, 10 years probation. So no jail time. Some of the rules of the probation was that Ethan was ordered to stay away from drugs, alcohol, and altogether driving. So this must be where the story ends, right? Not even close. On December 11th, 2015, a video was posted online. The video showed Ethan couch drinking at a party. This was a direct violation of Ethan's probation. A lot of you have probably seen this video. It is online, so anybody can find it. And I will say, this isn't somebody who maybe was caught drinking, who was maybe trying to hide what he's doing because he knows, you know what, I dodged a bullet there. I'm not supposed to drink. Let me try to keep it on the DL. No. He is having a good time at this party, getting absolutely hammered. So, needless to say, complete violation and blatant disrespectful violation of his probation. So Ethan then became the subject of a national manhunt. He was listed on the National Fugitive Database. I just got so Boston with that database because his probation officer was unable to contact him after several attempts. In fact, a $5,000 reward for information leading to the whereabouts or arrest of Ethan Couch was offered. And if you're wondering, where did he go? Well, let's get to that. On December 28th, 2015, Ethan and his mother, Tanya, were both captured in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. They were located by law enforcement and they were tracked because out of all the excuses, right, Ethan decided to use his phone to order pizza. Plain and simple. So Ethan and his mom were brought back to the U.S. Tanya was charged with money laundering and preventing the capture of a fugitive. Ethan was now sentenced to only 720 days in jail for violating his probation. When you do the math, that is 180 days for each victim. Yeah. In April 2018, Ethan was released from prison. Part of the conditions of his release was that he had to wear an ankle monitor, an alcohol detecting patch, submit to drug testing, and abide by a 9 p.m. curfew and have a video interlock ignition device installed into his vehicle. Well, do we think this is where Ethan might have learned his lesson, changed his ways? No. Ethan returned to jail on January 2nd, 2020 for a probation violation. This was because he failed a mandatory drug test when he tested positive for THC. What do you think happened? He was just released the next day. And his probation officially ended in December of 2023. So Ethan Couch is technically speaking a free man. Before I finish up with this case, let's see where y'all are in the chat. I know. I when I saw Liz this weekend, James, I was like, yeah, no, people are wondering where you are, and it's not okay. So no, I gave her a hard time, James. You better believe it. But the sad thing is she gives me a hard time right back, so it's kind of not fair. God. Let's see. Paul, I'm going to time you out. Let's see. Fiddle in the Diddlers. Oh, that's funny. Okay. I didn't watch SVU, so I can't confirm or deny, but I would not be surprised because this was a very controversial case. So I would not be surprised if that show did an episode that was based upon facts of this case. All right. So again, Ethan Couch, as of 2023, a free guy. So the nonprofit organization MADD, M-A-D-D, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Needless to say, they were not silent about anything in regard to this case. And they really attacked and criticized Ethan Couch's 720-day sentence and release. Quote, the 720 days Ethan Couch served for his crime shows that drunk driving homicides still aren't treated as the violent crimes that they are. We will be watching because this case brought to light that there is so much more work to be done to hold drunk drivers accountable, end quote. Now, that is the case of Ethan Couch, the Affluenza teen who put up the Affluenza defense. I will say, I was kind of debating whether to extend the episode and go further into the research of Ethan's parents. I mean, obviously Tanya is involved in his escape and him becoming a wanted fugitive. But Fred and Tanya Couch, even though they separated, they each still had a lot of their own legal problems. I honestly, when I was doing notes on this, I was like, I could do a whole episode on Fred and Tanya's run-ins with the law on its own. So to say the saying, the apple doesn't fall that far from the tree, is like a really, really big understatement when it comes to Ethan. So if that is something where after walking away from this case, if you aren't familiar with it and you kind of go down that rabbit hole of his parents, oh my gosh, do so. It will just make you more angry, but do so. It's just, yeah, this is just one of those cases. I decided to kind of just leave it out and just kind of give the little disclaimer at the end that it's not surprising the way Ethan is because of his parents. And the more you kind of deep dive into them, you'll see that. But this case was just, I remember at the time, I wasn't following it big time, but I was aware of what was going on because the defense that was brought forward was so different than what had been brought before. And again, this was a kid. He was 16 at the time. And to have not only the defense try to argue this, but to have his parents kind of argue against everybody, like, no, my son's in the right regardless of what he did. You're in the wrong for wanting him to be, thinking, why hold him accountable for anything? He did nothing wrong. And one of the things that I just want to clarify too is I know when it comes to a lot of these cases, true crime cases, for the most part, especially for parents, it's so hard to see that negative or whatever word you want to use, evil, homicidal or whatnot side of their child, whether it's male or female. It's hard to believe that they brought a child into this world who's doing that, where there's a lot of questions of, did they have a part in this? Was there something that they missed that led to this? And I know when I reviewed Jeffrey Dahmer's book, written by his father, Lionel Dahmer, there was a lot of questioning of like, where did I miss this? Did I, things that were, maybe not so normal at the time, were those signs that I missed, so on and so forth. This is not that. So in the Ethan case, I want to make very clear, this is not parents that are mitigating the severity of Yes, my child, he drove a little drunk. It wasn't that bad. No, this is everything that he's done to them is okay. They'll cover it up. They'll make it go away. They'll, pay to get him, released or get off, whatever it is. It's very different. It's very, very different. It's not even let's legally make it go away, but there's going to be hell to pay in this house for what you did. None of that, which does such a disservice to him because, he thought he was untouchable. And sadly, based on the sentencing, he was, which is just horrific. Because again, even those that survived, everybody was injured in this accident. Those who survived, everyone injured. One of his good friends even permanently paralyzed the rest of their life. So this touched everyone. And he got away with it, which is just, in his mind, he probably didn't get away with it. But yeah, it's horrible. But I want to know with you guys, are you familiar with this case? Is this a case where you're like, sounds familiar, can't pinpoint it? Or maybe this is brand new to you. I would love to know where you fall with this case. Again, I've been wanting to discuss it for quite a long time. So I'm really glad I kind of decided to just sit down and research it and do the notes, even though I was very angry doing the notes. nonetheless, did them. Let's see where you guys are. I'm like 98% certain Mojo agrees. Did any of the families sue the Couch family? I did not see that in the research car guy. Not to say it didn't happen. I didn't find any of that in the research that I did. And again, I more so tried to focus it around Ethan. But again, you can definitely go down the road of his parents. And yeah, that could have been a whole episode in itself. It really could have been. Horrible. James, this guy sounds like a fuck up. No way he would go 10 years without screwing up. Yeah, no way he would go like a month. When you don't think you did anything wrong and your parents are saying you didn't do anything wrong, why are you going to act on your best behavior? I'm not like, none of that is surprising. Oh, I love that. That's so cute, Chris James. I absolutely love that. Reminds me of the old saying, the Capone doesn't fall far from the bar still. You're horrible, James Watson. They fought the law and everybody but the bystanders won. The most egregious to me part is that the judge agreed with the parents. I know. We can blame Ethan. We can blame his parents. Oh, rightfully so. But the judge. I get it. He was under 18 at the time these occurred. So in regards to sentencing, is he going to be tried as an adult? Not necessarily. But even still, there could have been a bigger maximum, a much larger maximum that he should have received, and he didn't. So as much as it's shame on him and shame on the parents, shame on the judge. And I have to say, the defense's team in regards to the psychologist that testified, this whole Affluenza Teen, he shouldn't be held accountable. It's like, on the one hand, a defense team is going to try to do everything they can to get their client found either not guilty or as least amount of jail time as possible. But like, how do you sleep at night when you put this out there knowing he's going to be back out in society? How do you sleep at night? Like, knowing all these innocent people died, it's just horrible. It's absolutely horrible. Let's see. Capone, 100%. 100%. Yep, that is an excellent comparison. I'm going to give you a star for that. Yeah, same thing. It's like, there are parents that want to protect their child, right or wrong with what their child did, because they're a loving parent and they don't want their child to fail or to do whatnot. We see that with other true crime cases. This is just, it's so extreme and so different in this case. And like, I know I've said it again and again this episode, but I feel like I just can't drive it home enough, because I don't want his parents, Fred and Tanya, to kind of fall into that category of, well, they were trying to protect their son. They were loving parents trying to protect their son. No, not in this case. No. You never heard of it? Really? Interesting. Karen, you didn't either. It's so interesting what cases like become kind of very media driven in different places, because I remember hearing about it in 97. I was what, like 13, 14 at that time. And again, high school, hanging out with friends, doing my own thing. But like, I was aware this case was happening. But very interesting. I was thinking of the Murdoch son. Car Guy, I'm giving you a star too. That is an absolutely great comparison as well. Another family with wealth and privilege who tried to buy their way out of, I'm pretty sure you're referring to the boating accident, which one would argue, well, was it really an accident when you took the steps you did to drive it intoxicated? And Mallory ended up dying as a result of it. But yeah, excellent comparison. Thank you for bringing that up. So my point is, he will probably still get his justice. Ethan's parents paid the judge off. See, like this is one of those things where we could really kind of go back to think, why did the judge go with this? Is that a possibility? Sure, why not? Could it have been that at the time, this was such a different type of case in regards to a defense argument, that if that happens now in 2025, I'd like to think it wouldn't go the same route this did. The way the world is right now, I don't know day by day, but I would like to think that, we've seen this before. We've seen what's happened from it. Absolutely not. So I questioned at the time, was this such a new defense that the judge was taken back by it and thought, well, gee, maybe there's something to that. I mean, and if that's the case, that's totally scary. But like, I would love to know, and we never will, like, for the judge to say, this is why I ruled the way I did. I would love to know that, but we'll probably never know that. Was this the same judge who kept letting him go? That I do not know, Chris James. That I do not know. Because once he fled and became wanted, it became like a totally different ballpark in regards to who was seeking to press charges against him, because now the feds were involved. But I don't know for sure, so I just don't want to give that misinformation. But that is an excellent question. Danny, what I was saying, shame on Ethan, his parents, and the judge. Karen, I'm giving you a star for that, 100%. 100%. And I would like to throw, do I want to see that? Like, again, I get the defense's job, and I get experts for the defense. I get their job. And everybody is entitled to a defense. I get that. It's just like, in cases like this, it's just so scary, because it's like, how do you sleep at night knowing you're like minimizing the deaths of innocent people who died as a result of this? And those who did live and survive, they are not only physically injured, mentally. I mean, that's a whole emotional game right there for the rest of their lives. And again, one of Ethan's friends who is, completely paralyzed the rest of his life now. It's like, how do you just kind of gloss over those and still say, you know what? Yeah, don't hold him accountable. He didn't know better. Privilege. Doesn't know right from wrong. And then just go to bed at the end of the night and close your eyes and go to sleep. I don't know how. Yeah, Renee, right there with you. If he's on parole for 10 years and fucks up 2 or 3 times, they'll have to eventually throw the book at him. But will they? James, but will they? We see this not in just this case, but with so many other cases where, and that's the frustrating thing with a lot of these, is because when we're going through so many of these true crime cases with the offenders, you see where they were locked up for, whatever charges it was prior. And a lot of times it was not just a one-time arrest or a 2-time arrest. There are so many instances where, again, repeat offenses where they should have been behind bars and stayed behind bars. But whether it's good behavior, overpopulation in the prison, up for parole, and the judge or the defense board feels, they're rehabilitated, and then they get out and then they commit the crimes that they do. And innocent people die as that. I can't help but think those families never would have lost their loved ones because James Watson, like you're saying, out of all these repeat offenses, if they just stayed in prison. A lot of heartache would have been prevented. You're saying I meant probation. If he's on, probation for 10 years. But it's the same thing. It's the holding accountable. So again, even I still mean the same thing with that. Even those who are on probation, we see so many times. I mean, I know we talked about this a lot in the Manson case, where there's so many parole violations, but what's happening to them? Nothing. And we see that again and again and again with so many of these cases. And again, even though you corrected yourself there, it's still the same in regards to, so if they broke their probation, the rules of their probation 1, 2, 3 times, now they should be in prison because of that. But they're not really being held accountable for it. It's just another chance. And now X amount of time goes by and they commit a really serious offense, and now someone's life is lost as a result. Had they broke their probation X amount of times, they're back they're in prison because of that. What would have followed after never would have happened. So it to me all leads back to the same thing, which is just accountability. Whether it's, again, probation, jail time, but yeah, we see that time and time again, and it's really unfortunate. But yeah, folks, so that is the case of Ethan Couch, the Affluenza Teen, and the Affluenza defense. So if you have any other comments or questions about this case, please let me know in the live chat before we end for the night. If you are watching this on replay, and if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments. And let me know, again, if this is a case that you're familiar with, you've kind of maybe heard about but don't know the details, or if this is brand new to you. I would really, really like to know. And if there are any other cases that, again, that you are driving parallels to in your mind, and you're like, wait a minute, this is just like such and such. You guys did a great job tonight with referencing several other cases where it's a bit similar on that end. So yeah, let me know. Again, no True Crime and Chill later this week because I will be at the True Crime Podcast Festival. So I'm really, really excited for that. So other than that, I will be back next week with a regularly scheduled episode. All right, everybody, enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy the rest of your week. And remember, until next time, we don't live in darkness. Darkness lives in us. Bye, everyone.